If summer heat and activity left your lawn with bare patches and thin spots, then get Scott's Turf Builder Grass Seed. Fall's cool air and warm soil make it the best time to grow grass. Use Turf Builder Grass Seed to grow thicker, greener grass, guaranteed. It contains Scott's exclusive Water Smart Plus coating that absorbs 2 times more water than uncoated seeds. Feeds to jumpstart growth and protect seedlings against disease. And Scott's is the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Fall's the best time to grow seed and repair your yard. Pick up a bag of Scott's Turf Builder Grass Seed today. This is the Scott's Yard.
It's time for some straight talk. Some people are big-time data users, some not so much. Well, Straight Talk Wireless has unlimited plans of all sizes, like the newest, with the first 2 gigs of data at high speed, then 2G for just $35 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data, all on America's largest and most dependable networks. Big or small, everyone saves with Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts, only at Walmart.
A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Right now, let's get into some NFL action with the Super Bowl winning coach now from the NFL Network. Is Brian Billick with us. Good morning, Brian.
Yeah, if you want to talk lunch and scratching faces, I'm good.
We're in the midst of just the stupidest conversation in the world, so save us from that. Let's talk about last night's game, because there's a lot of different ways to try and analyze it, and I want to start with the Tampa side of it. I went into the season predicting that Jameis Winston would be the league MVP. They got him Deshaun Jackson, which is what I thought they were missing, someone to take the top off that defense. And I have just loved his game going back to his days in college. I felt it was his time to take that next step and go from being a guy who's really good to being one of the truly elite quarterbacks in the game. As you watch his progression, where do you think he is in that process right now?
He's progressing. I mean, let's look at it. He went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. Now, I realize they don't face one another, but a lot of people talk about it. When you play Tom Brady, you're measuring yourself up against maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. And when you look at that game, they were toe-for-toe, first downs, third down conversion, putting the ball down the field. Jameis Winston actually didn't turn the ball over. It came down to their field goal kicker, made his 4, and yours missed his 3. So, yes, he is progressing. Is he there yet? No, because the consistency, he's still capable of having those 3 and 4 touchdown games and maybe those 2 and 3 interception games, which every quarterback can happen to. The consistency of that, I don't think it was Jameis Winston that cost them that game last night by any stretch of the imagination. The hard thing for Tampa is they just saw their division rival, Carolina, go into Foxborough and light up the New England Patriots, and then Tampa could not hold serve at home against those same New England Patriots. A very good New England Patriot team, not a dominant, but a good one. So that's the struggle for Tampa Bay right now. But, yeah, to answer the question, Jameis Winston is progressing, not quite there yet.
Coach, looking at the other team, a lot was made about the New England Patriots this week. The offense not playing great. Brady is having to do it all. The offensive line hasn't been good. The defense has been basically like a sieve, giving up 300 yards to just about every quarterback. Where do you see this team right now, offensively and defensively, as you watch the tape?
Well, they're still a team to contend with. Are they contenders? Absolutely. As long as you got Brady and Belichick, that's going to be the case. Are they a dominant team? Are they the team that we thought was going to go, 16-0 and run through them against the field of the AFC? No, they've kind of come back to the field. Now, they're still the Patriots. It's still Brady, and they're still pretty darn good. So, yeah, can you dismiss them? No. Are they the dominant team in the AFC? No, and we can see the holes. Jameis Winston did throw for, over 300 yards. Tampa Bay was in a position. They ran the ball okay. So, it's one of those, as they go forward in the AFC, yes, it's Tom Brady, but they're not the dominant team. And you can see, even though they've bbeen brilliant on the road, they got 11-0 on the road the last 11 games. So that's a sign of a good team. The fact that they did it without Gronkowski, you can't dismiss New England. But are we ready to slam dunk them into Minneapolis for the Super Bowl? Not so yet.
Mike and Brian Billick is with us. And again, Brian winning a Super Bowl with a dominant defense. And if there's one thing we saw through the first 4 games of this year, the Patriots seeming to have communication issues on the defensive end, which is not something you would ever think you'd associate with a Belichick coach team. And Booger was explaining to me earlier this morning how they simplified things in the secondary last night and played a lot more zone. As a head coach, what does it say when a team is having that kind of communication issue, and how do you correct a problem like that?
Well, a lot of times, yeah, if you can go back to, you always hear coaches say, well, we're going to go back to basics. Okay, well, what if you're basically wrong? Then what do you do? Or what if you're basically bad? What typically happens is, particularly in the back end, let's remember now, you make a mistake on offense, you punt. You make a mistake on the back end in defense, strike up the band, and it's time to kick a PAT. So, and it's a large expanse of field. I think what happens is when you don't have that dominant player, and that's when I see the New England Patriot defense, I'll pull a Belichickian, what do I have to account for? Well, I don't have that singular pass rush guy that I got to turn my line to or chip or put it back on or put the tight end to that side. I don't see a guy in the secondary that I absolutely have to stay away from. Still very, okay, sound, but nothing dominant. So it looks like New England is trying to manufacture ways to account for the fact that they don't have the dominant personnel in the back end. That means you got to be a little creative. That leaves yourself open for miscommunication and the arrows that you're talking about. So, yeah, if you have to get back to basics, that's all well and good. But when you play one of these elite quarterbacks, as we saw with Tom Brady, Tampa Bay had to get very basic because they were beat up on defense. The number of players Tampa Bay was missing. And Brady, you could just up and down the field, just picked them apart. Now, he couldn't get into the end zone. Give Tampa Bay credit for that. And I know Mike Smith didn't want to be that basic, but with the personnel on the field, he had to be. And against an elite quarterback like Tom Brady, they kind of pick you apart.
Coach, when you look at the situation in Chicago, they're making the move from Mike Glennon to Mitchell Trubisky. What do you make of the move? And if you were in that situation, would you make the move now?
I'd have started him this season. That's just me. You don't learn from the sideline. I mean, and they're going to be every play that Mitchell Trubisky takes in 2017 is going to make the Chicago Bears better in 2018. I understand waiting for the bye, waiting for the offensive line to get healthy. Okay, it is. Running game seems to be okay. Great. Defense kind of settling in. Not a great team. It's not like they're going to all of a sudden win a lot of games now, but they can progress under Mitchell Trubisky. And for John Fox's sake, maybe they can be that team that the second half of the season showing some upside, win some games, showing the momentum. Truly, this is your guy. That's the upside here under a team that, is under a little bit of fire and a coach that's under a little bit of fire. Just show that improvement. It's not like all of a sudden they're going to go on a 10-game winning streak here.
Mike and Mike, Brian Billick is with us this past Sunday, I should say. Cam Newton and the Panthers had their best win of the season, the best performance of the season, went into New England and got a huge win. And then Cam, of course, has the controversy of his own making this week. He had the apology last night. We've talked about that this morning. Let's move past that part of it. And now he's got to get ready to play a game, and you're his coach, and you have to make sure that he's in the right mindset to play a game after 2 days of being publicly criticized as much as he has been, and it obviously weighing on him in the way you saw in the video last night. As his coach, what are you doing?
Well, when he's in the building, we're fine because we're focused on the game plan, and you're looking at film, and you're just talking football, which is where you want to be. It's outside the building. And for a player, many players will say, no, I'm not thinking about that. I'm past that. I've pushed it aside. We know that's just not humanly possible. This is weighing on. This is emotionally wearing you out. I always used to lecture my teams on the fact that, guys, we all have personal lives. I get it. But every second that we're not focused on beating the team we got to play this week, we're giving them an advantage. And this was a self-inflicted wound, as you said. Yes, they'll get past it. But it's the type of thing that when you look at the truly elite quarterbacks, like a Brady, like a Manning, like a Breeze, they don't self-inflict wounds because when it comes to the persona and does anybody handle a news conference, post-game, pre-game, during the season more brilliantly, more articulately, saying absolutely nothing than a Tom Brady, than a Peyton Manning, than a Drew Brees? Because they know, you know what? If I just do it, I do it with a smile, don't give them anything, fill up their notebooks, then this is not a distraction for me. And Cam Newton has yet to learn that.
Coach, the Packers head to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. I'm a firm believer. I think the Cowboys are in trouble from an offensive standpoint. No speed defensively. The personnel is very limited. In comes Green Bay. We all know how the game ended last year. What do you make of this matchup, and how do you look at the Dallas Cowboys now?
Well, it's always with Green Bay. The question is, if it turns into a track meet, can you keep up? If this becomes a slugfest, which they're capable of doing with that offensive line and running back, And I did this on our playbook show this week, looking at when you saw the Rams, who just got gashed in the first half, they adjusted in the second half. They saw they needed to match up better, fit up better to stop the run, and now make Dallas throw the ball more to beat you. And they could not. And Green Bay, I don't think matches up real well with their defensive front seven with that big offensive line. So they've got to be creative, bring people into the box, but you've got to fit up well. You know this, Burger. If you don't fit up well and you leave a gap open, that's where you get gashed. And that's going to be the challenge for Green Bay. Can they do that by stacking the box, not give up the big plays, and then obviously turn this into a track meet with Aaron Rodgers?
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Brian Billick from the NFL Network is with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Final one, Sunday night, really interesting game. The last unbeaten team in the league is Kansas City. They'll go play Houston, where it feels like we're seeing a star being born right now. Deshaun Watson has been sensational the last couple of weeks with the performance in Foxborough and then exploding this past week against Tennessee. What are we seeing right now as we watch this rookie season from this quarterback?
I'm stunned. I don't remember a rookie quarterback maturing as quickly as Deshaun Watson. I did a piece on him a couple of weeks ago where when he first got in, you could see he was doing rookie things. Top of the drop, not there, pull it down and run. Staring down his receivers. Again, I put a clip together where you could see now, particularly this last week. Yes, top of the drop, receiver there, boom, he hits it fine. And, of course, he's going to make plays outside the pocket. But I also saw a number of throws where he gets in the pocket, top of the drop, vision downfield, feet are calm, shoulders are calm, going through a progression. And early in the game, that first big play, top of the drop, not there, stepped up, turned his shoulders, protect the ball. And where you just knew he was going to pull the ball down and run it, and he'd have gotten good yards, opens his shoulder, gets a big play down the field, which means his vision was still downfield. So I'm hugely impressed with so far how quickly Deshaun Watson is showing he can do those things that he's going to have to do as a pro quarterback, notwithstanding the spectacular things he does outside the pocket.
He is Brian Billick, and we chat with him every week here on Mike and Mike. You see him all the time on the NFL Network. Always a pleasure, Brian. Have a great weekend.
All right, guys, you too.
Thanks, Coach.
Brian Billick with us. Mike and Mike were presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you. I wanted to finish with that Deshaun Watson question because I want to play something that Todd McShay said this week. Was it on Russillo that he said it? We had it in the notes the other day, and we never got to it. Right. And I haven't actually heard it. But I know that Todd McShay, who, of course, is the draft guru, observing Deshaun Watson's early fabulous start here, said something to the effect of he doesn't think that it continues or that it isn't sustainable. So let's all hear it together. This is McShay the other day with Ryan Russillo.
Do you think the formula that the Texans have found, at least with a week or two in the rearview mirror for Watson, is sustainable? So
the right way to do it right now. I don't know that it's sustainable, though.
That's
I really
the question.
don't. I really don't. As more defensive coordinators get time, game planning for them, figuring out what they want to do, understanding RPOs, which have not been, there's more and more every year in the NFL, but it's never been a featured element offensively. So I think they're doing the right things to keep him in his comfort zone.
Okay, so for those who don't know, RPO means the run-pass option, which is a huge part of the college arsenal usually, and is I don't even know how to describe exactly what part of it is in traditional NFL offenses today. It used to be zero.
Right.
Now it's something more than zero. What do you think of what McShay said?
I think he's wrong, and there's no better case in point than what they're doing in Kansas City. Kansas City is basically running a college offense. If you go back and watch what Alex Smith and Andy Reid are doing, it's a lot of RPOs with Tyreek Hill. You look at Kareem Hunt. They are basically running the version of a college spread offense because Andy Reid has said, you know what? I have a very mobile quarterback in Alex Smith. What he can do, his skill set, is very similar to what they do in college. The offensive linemen that we're getting in the National Football League nowadays aren't adept at being ready to pass block and run block because they're so used to playing out of two-point stances. So Andy Reid says, you know what? Rather than trying to force a square peg in a round hole, I'm going to morph my offense into what they do. They're basically running a college offense. And so where I disagree with McShay is if you have a coach that understands how to do it, and Bill O'Brien does, let's not forget, probably, 5 or 6 years ago, he was at Penn State. He understands the college game. He understands the RPOs. And Greeny, the number one job of a head coach is to put your players in position to succeed. So as long as Bill O'Brien continues to do that with Deshaun Watson, we've seen him be successful with this. Look at Clemson. Look at the games that he had against Alabama. He shredded them, and now he's doing the same thing to the National Football League. And here's the one thing that's always sustainable in football.
Yeah.
When you throw the football accurate and you throw the football on time and you make good decisions with the football, that's sustainable. The plays where he has to be kind of schoolyard, backyard plays, when he has to do those type plays, you can't predict that. That's just natural athleticism. But throwing the football on time and getting it out, you can do that in any offense. So that's where I disagree with McShay.
Yeah, and as far as the RPO, you picked exactly the right guys, and they meet this Sunday night. Alex Smith and Deshaun Watson are the only quarterbacks to throw at least 3 touchdowns this season on play action out of the shotgun. So they've got that shotgun, they've got that fake, and then you go down the field, and obviously they both got good. Look, DeAndre Hopkins is, in my opinion, the inconsistency in quarterback play, and that's even being kind, the flat-out bad quarterback play that they've had in Houston the last few years, which is why he started 9 different guys in the last 3 seasons. If DeAndre Hopkins is playing with Eli Manning or Ben Roethlisberger, I believe that we would talk about him the way we talk about Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham. I think he's that good.
Yes, he is.
And this could be now become, if Watson really does grow into himself, and let's not get crazy this fast,
right.
But boy, he looks awfully good. If he does continue to progress like this, that could become a dynamite combination in the NFL going forward because Hopkins is that good.
No doubt. He's playing well, Green, and more importantly, their team is playing complementary football. Okay, the defense is really good, so Bill O'Brien knows I don't have to go out and try to score 40 or 50. It's great if we do, but we don't have to. I can allow the game to evolve. I can take Lamar Miller. I can run the football. We can pound it a little bit. And now with the element, with this RPO, we can actually put an offense in that allows my quarterback to be dynamic. This is not a fad. The Wildcat was a fad. Remember when the Wildcat came out?
Sure.
Like, man, the Wildcat's going to take over? Nah, not so much. That was a fad because teams understood I can come up with a defense to take you out of the Wildcat. Nobody's come up with a defense to stop Kansas City yet. It's going to be tough to come up with a defense to say, okay, we can line up in this defense and we can take Deshaun Watson away. Yes, he's going to play some bad games, but the concept of what they're doing is a fun offense. It's an offense that's sustainable, and more importantly, it's an easy offense to draft for. And I think you're going to see more and more teams that have mobile quarterbacks say, you know what? Instead of trying to go find the offensive lineman that's ready to play in 3 yards in a cloud of dust, because that's the one issue we keep hearing. Well, the offensive linemen aren't ready. Well, they are ready, just not ready for what you want them to do. They're ready to play in a spread offense. So bring some spread elements to the National Football League.
I like everything you're saying, but I have a variety of questions. You made me think of another one there at the end. Don't you have to have a 4-minute offense to win, though? You get to the playoffs, and it's January, and you're going to get the ball back with the lead, but you're going to be up 2 points with 3.5 minutes left, and you better be able to run the ball and get a couple of first downs. And if you don't have offensive linemen that can do that, isn't that ultimately going to be a problem?
It will be a problem. Look in Kansas City. You know who's leading the league in second half rushing?
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Yeah, and the kid is.
Yeah, the kid is Kareem Hunt. Like they're
Kareem
running.
Hunt has more yards rushing in the second half than anyone else has in the whole league.
They are running the football. So you can have the spread element and still be physical. That's up to the coach to do that.
Fair enough. So that brings me to my second question. The reason, and again, this is where we need to make sure we're clearly defining what the run-pass option is, different from what we were seeing for a while there with these quarterbacks and their options, because when Robert Griffin was doing it, I remember Golick sitting here saying, this can't work, guys, because you're going to get your quarterback hit, and if you get your quarterback hit, eventually you're going to get your quarterback hurt. So is the stuff they're doing in Kansas City and Houston putting their quarterback at greater risk?
No, because what they're doing now, prime example, if I want to compare to what they did in Washington, Washington was a lot about RG3 running the ball. It was a lot of design runs, a lot of college run game where I'm reading the end and the mesh point. If the end takes the running back, now the quarterback runs the football. Deshaun Watson, you're not seeing that. What you're seeing with RPOs, run pass option, he's faking to Lamar Miller, allowing the defense to commit. And if the numbers are in his favor, he'll run the ball and leave it there. If the numbers aren't, he has a pass built in. So it's called a run pass option because of that. This is not a zone read. There's a difference between an RPO and a zone read. A zone read goes back to Washington. I'm reading the end. If the end crashes, I pull it, I run. That's not what they're doing in Kansas City. They do it sometimes, but primarily they are doing RPOs, which are phenomenal.
Right.
And I think those are here to stay.
So what to to make it as simple as we can, what RG3 was doing was a run option. It's a run play,
right.
And he's either going to give it to the back or he's not.
Yes.
But one way or another, they're going to run on that side of the field. In this case, what you're saying is Watson is doing something similar in reading the defender or the defense.
Yep.
But his option is to either put it in the belly of the back or pull it out, and he's got a pass built out on the other side of that. He's not getting hit either way.
Correct. That's the element. Now, once the play breaks down, if the play's not there, the element of him using his legs, that's something where he's going to get hit.
But that's what Aaron Rodgers does, and all these.
They all do that.
And you have to learn at that point how not to take hits.
Yes, know when the journey's over.
Yeah, and there are some guys who are very good at that. A guy like Russell Wilson, who does have designed runs.
Correct.
Very good at not taking hits.
Yes.
RG3, the one observation you made about him, even at his best, even when he was really good, for a guy who was such a good athlete, he took the most awkward hits of any player you ever saw. For whatever reason, he just did not have the knack. And I think it is a knack for not getting hit in a bad way. He took the worst hits you've ever seen.
Right, because he was a guy who learned how to play football, I think, at a later age. He was always a track guy. If you watch him now on his Instagram and Twitter, he's always posting workouts where he's running track and running sprints on a track. The art of learning how to slide and know to know when the journey's over, you got to play a lot of football to understand that. And RG3 just hadn't got to that point yet.
I really enjoy, for those of you watching on ESPN2, when they do these Sounds of the Week, where they just sort of take all the little funny out-of-context clips and moments from our show all week long and put them together. Whoever does those does a really good job. But one of the things that came up this week is that I was accused of suggesting that watermelons grow on a tree. Now, I make it clear. I don't think I ever actually thought that a watermelon grew on a tree.
Actually, you did. I was hosting that show with you, and you asked me, and it was a very poignant moment. You were like, I got to be honest. I don't really, do they grow on trees? And
I know that it was poignant, but here's the thing.
It seemed that way.
I was always under the impression the definition of a fruit is something that grows on a tree. In order to be a fruit, you have to grow on a tree. So that was where I got this idea in my mind that it must grow on a tree. If it doesn't grow on a tree, what does it grow on? Where does one, if I wanted to just go get a watermelon in the wild, where would I do that?
Well, not all fruits. I can give you a tomato, which is a fruit technically.
That grows on a tree?
No, it doesn't.
What does it grow on?
It's a vine.
What's the difference between a vine and a tree?
About 600 feet, if you really want to be.
Well, you could have a small tree.
Well,
okay, fair enough. Okay, so, all right. So a fruit is a seed-bearing structure.
Right. Grapes are fruits.
What do grapes grow on?
Vine.
So we're distinguishing, obviously, between a vine. So a vine, you can grow up, but a vine looks kind of flimsier than a tree. So how does it support a watermelon?
And strawberries grow in a patch. I mean, we can get really
deep. They don't just grow in a patch. They grow in a patch of something. A patch of strawberries is just like a way of describing them.
Like they're on a little viney bush.
Like a school of fish. Fish don't grow in a school. They just travel in a school.
They travel in a school. But my point being is watermelons grown. Like I've actually, trust me, like I'm an expert in it. I've actually raised watermelons because we had a farm. Okay, and I actually had watermelons planted in between the corn. So we had rows of corn. And then in between the corn, to kind of space it out, we would have watermelons because the watermelons grow on the floor, on the ground. And they grow on a vine. And because they are so heavy, Greeny, they sit on the ground where they can't fall off a tree.
And kill you.
And well, they may kill you because you think they're growing on a tree. They wouldn't kill me because I'm going to leave them on the ground.
I got it.
So,
all right, fair enough. So that's okay. So there's one answer to one question. The other thing I wanted to just mention here briefly, you know what? I'll save the cat scratching for a minute because I don't want to get too ridiculous. And I do want to clarify what I said earlier this morning about the Adidas payment to Rick Pitino and everything else, because I saw that we released a thing, they'll take little clips from the show and they'll send them out. And the headline of it says, Mike Greenberg is stunned that Rick Pitino got all this money from Adidas, because the story that I saw in USA Today was that there was out of the payment that Adidas made to Louisville in their previous agreement, the one that predates the one they've now made that's worth $160 million, that they would pay Pitino $1.5 million every year, and then $25,000 went to the school. I'm flabbergasted by that. But I want to make it clear I don't have a problem with it. Like I saw people saying, Greeny, it was fully disclosed. Okay, that's fine. I don't have any issue with it. This is America. Everyone should make as much money as they possibly can. I'm totally in favor of Rick Pitino, Mike Krzyzewski, Tom Izzo, Mike Bray, insert Chris Collins, whoever you want. They should make as much money as they possibly can. However much money someone's willing to pay you, you should be allowed to take. I have zero issue with that. What I was saying was I am just stunned that my vision of these deals between these shoe companies, these apparel companies, and these schools was that they were supplying money that benefited the entire athletic department or maybe even the entire university in some ways. And so if 98% of the money was going to the basketball coach, forget about the fact that it then turned into the scandal and everything else.
Right.
That took me aback. I most certainly was not aware. If that is common practice, I was very much unaware of it.
Well, number one, I think it is common practice. Number two, you're looking at cash out of pocket. From the shoe company Adidas to Rick Pitino's pocket.
Right.
The shoe company says, okay, we're giving him this amount of cash, but look at the millions of dollars of merchandise, of jerseys, of shoes, of everything else we're outfitting your school with from head to toe. So when the shoe company...
No, hold on a minute. What? That's ridiculous. But them wearing the jerseys in these games is free free advertising.
It's free advertising
that is worth more than whatever the jersey is worth.
It's free advertising, Greeny, but from a standpoint of a shoe company, they're counting like if you look at this deal, if somebody says, okay, Nike signing Northwestern to a $100 million deal,
right?
All of that's not cash. Okay, some of that is the monetary expense that it cost Nike to outfit Northwestern in Nike gear, shoes, sweats, warm-ups, socks, whatever else you may need.
Right.
Part of that is the cash equivalent of.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
But but let's even put that to the side. I hear what you're saying.
Right.
And I mean, that can't add up to $1.5 million, I don't think.
No, correct.
Whatever.
I agree with you.
The only point that I'm making here is that I am taken aback. And let's not even get into the fact that it further illustrates how everyone is getting rich on this stuff. And I don't have a problem with the shoe companies doing it.
Except the kids.
It's a perfectly legitimate business transaction.
Right.
We give you money and equipment. You wear the equipment. It makes all kinds of, advertising for our product.
Right.
This is a business transaction that is perfectly above board, perfectly legal, and I don't have any problem with it, and I wouldn't see why anyone would. It does further illustrate the ridiculousness of the fact that the coach is getting all of the money for the kid wearing the sneaker, and the kid can't get a free ham sandwich on his way home from the game, or it's going to threaten his eligibility. But let's not even go there. All I'm saying is, I knew the coaches were getting some of the money from these agreements from the apparel deals. I would never have guessed it was 98% of it. Never. I mean, that struck me as that number jumped off the page.
98% is high. However, Greeny, what I would say is you look at the top coaches in football and basketball, they're all being paid by shoe companies. Probably not 98%, but I guarantee you they're all being paid way more than they probably should.
And you know what I'll say about that? God bless them. This is America. You're allowed to get as much money as you can for any circumstance. Nick Saban they're not, to the best of my knowledge, he's not holding them hostage, right? They're willingly paying him this money, and he is more than earning it. He is worth every penny Alabama pays him, and he's worth every penny Nike. Are they Nike?
Yes.
I think
Alabama's,
they are. They're worth every penny Nike pays him, and whatever Coke is paying to always have that Coca-Cola bottle sitting there on his lectern when he's doing his press conference and everything else. This is a business. It is a multi-billion college sports, particularly football, but the basketball too. It is a multi-billion-dollar business. Right. I have no problem with that. I enjoy watching it all, and it should be treated that way. And slowly but surely, and maybe the best thing that'll come from all of this with the FBI is that everyone is now recognizing that. Even the last holdouts of this is not a business cannot possibly argue that anymore, and there will be adjustment to the amateurism model. There just has to be.
I think a lot of people now are going to go back and look at some of these big deals, some of the bigger deals that have been signed between shoe companies, especially basketball, because basketball is more visible. It's a sport where you got 5 guys on the floor, and that in turns lead to the National Basketball Association, where if I have a relationship with the guy, I can continue that. So those deals, in my opinion, Under Armour, the Nike, the Adidas, those deals will probably be scrutinized a lot more based on what we found out with this Pitino deal.
Yeah, and I think a lot more, I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing a lot more people buy shoes based upon which basketball players are wearing them than anything that has to do with football. Well, let me do a quick 5-point stance here. Not so quick.
Right now, Mike and Mike. Let's go. It's time for the 5-point stance.
Really interesting week 5 in the NFL is upon us, and our 5-point stance is brought to you by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. You can visit them at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Number 5, the Chiefs are the NFL's last unbeaten team. It's the 5th time in the Super Bowl era in which they were among the season's last unbeaten teams. In the previous 4 instances, they did not win a playoff game. Kansas City's history, both recent and not so, has been very good regular seasons and playoff disappointment. Does this look like a team prepared for a deep run to you?
It does, because they can beat you in multiple ways. Running the football with Kareem Hunt, Alex Smith being the ultimate game manager, and a defense that has guys that can close you out in D Ford in Houston at the pass rush position.
Next on the 5-point stance, Deshaun Watson currently leads the NFL in total QBR, the first rookie to lead the league through Week 4 in the QBR era. Only Dak Prescott ever had a higher total QBR in his first 4 career games. Right now, if I offered you Watson or Prescott to be your team's quarterback, which one do you take?
Prescott.
Really?
Yeah, I do, because I just think that I'm a guy, I want my quarterback to win the game from the pocket consistently. I'm not in favor, although he's being phenomenal right now, I'm not in favor of the guy that's going to be running around out there, because eventually I think he's going to get hurt.
Next in our 5-point stance, the Rams are averaging an NFL best 35.5 points a game. They host the Seahawks on Sunday. Are these Rams for real offensively? Is this, with Goff and Gurley and what they're doing, is this for real?
Goff looks better, and a year ago, if you would have asked me, I would have told you that the Rams' offense was the issue. Right now, it's really their defense. Their defense is getting ran on a ton, but you got to give a lot of credit to McVay. Sean McVay has come in, and he's basically proved everyone wrong. We thought Jared Goff was a bust, and right now he looks really the part of a starting quarterback.
Next in our 5-point stance, Chargers and Giants play at MetLife Stadium. Something's got to give because they're both 0-4. Who wins the game this weekend? Are they both done anyway?
I think the Giants win. Call me crazy. I still think there's something in there with the Giants. I mean, on paper, that defense looked phenomenal before the season started. We were talking about them challenging the Dallas Cowboys for the NFC East supremacy. The Chargers, I think we know what they're going to be. Would you at all be surprised if late November we look up and the Giants are back in it?
I wouldn't.
Right.
But everyone keeps calling me an idiot, so now they'll call us both an idiot together.
Well, hopefully you first.
Because I haven't thrown in the towel on them yet either. And then finally, number 5 in our 5-point stance, Mitchell Trubisky makes his first career start Monday night against the Vikings. The last quarterback to make his first start on a Monday night was Colin Kaepernick in 2012. No quarterback taken in the first round has made his first career start on Monday night since Aaron Rodgers in 2008. The Trubisky era begins in the division this Monday night. And that's our 5-point stance brought to you by Geico. It's Mike and Mike with Booger McFarland in for Golick on a very busy Friday. We're back with more in just a moment. The limitations are limitless. Forward thinking brought to you by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit them, geico.com, or call 1-800-947-AUTO. What are we looking forward to? Well, we got football on ESPN Radio this weekend. Chargers-Giants is our game. Coverage starts noon Eastern, and, of course, we have all of the baseball games for you as well, including 4 of them today. So Bobby Twig tweets, Booger, you need to get Greeny out of the city every once in a while. My goodness, this tree, vine, fruit conversation. I'll tell you why I don't know this. Because I am one of these people, and I don't think I'm unique in this. I sort of live my life on a need-to-know basis, which is to say, right, any information that I don't feel is really going to benefit me in any way, I don't pay any attention to. It doesn't sink in. Like, I have a friend named Tim, who I play, my best friend Tim. Mm-hmm. We play a lot of golf together. Right. When we're playing golf, any bird that flies by, he will tell you immediately what brand of bird that is. He knows exactly what it is. And what?
Brand?
Whatever.
Species?
Whatever. What kind of bird it is. Is a brand the wrong? You know what I mean. There's a bunch of different birds out there.
Okay.
And so he's like, Greeny, that's,
right,
a yellow-tailed swallow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what he's talking about.
That's Versace, maybe.
But so I always say to him, how do you know all of these birds? And because he's a finance guy.
Right.
And he says, I'm just interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in anything. That's my problem. I have like a very small, limited group of things that I know about and care about, and anything else I don't pay any attention to at all.
Greeny, here's the problem with that. I grew up in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Never rode the subway until I was probably 25 years old.
There's a subway in Louisiana?
No, but here's my point. In Louisiana, there are no subways.
Oh, right.
Okay, but I didn't ride one until I was 25 years old, until I went somewhere else. My point being is, even not knowing, not concerning myself, or not caring about a subway, I understood how the subway worked.
Yeah.
So you can be in your small little bubble all you want to, but big guy, if you think a watermelon grows on trees,
yeah,
that's a problem.
The only place that I'll disagree with you in that entire statement is, it really isn't a problem. Like, I've managed to live my whole life and not have it impact me in any negative way, perhaps until this conversation.
Well, where's the awareness at, though? The awareness of
why do I need to be aware of that? Like,
why would I need to know about the subway?
Because at some point in your life, you might have to get from point A to point B, and the subway might be the most efficient way to do it.
As much as you love fruit,
yeah.
you just claim that I'll eat any fruit. Fruit is my life. I can survive on fruit alone.
Guess where I don't go when I want fruit?
Where?
To a tree to pick it. Right?
But you think a watermelon grows from a tree?
You got stores, you got bodegas, you got fruit stands all over the place. There's unlimited fruit
What's a bodega
at my disposal.
What is a bodega about?
It's like a little, it's like a convenience store in New York. It's a different. They probably have them all over, but they're very identifiable with Manhattan. You walk in, you get like gum and the newspaper and coffee if you want, and there's usually fruit.
So we just call that a convenience store.
Fine. It's another word for there probably is a differentiation, but once again, I don't know what it is, and it doesn't matter what it is, right? So all I'm trying to say is, yeah, they put up on the screen, as far as Greeny is concerned, watermelons grow in the produce section of the supermarket. That's about right. That's about right. When I want watermelon and I love it, I know where to go to get it. And it doesn't really matter to me how it got from wherever it started to where it is now. All right, let's finish up on some sports here if we can. In your mind, baseball playoffs.
Yes.
Give me a couple of predictions. We'll just make a couple of predictions, as we used to call them on this show, predictions sure to go wrong.
Right.
Will Kershaw throw a gem today, or will his postseason struggles continue?
I think his struggles continue. I think it's all mental with him. And no matter how many times we want to say he's gotten over it, until I see him consistently do it, it's going to be in the back of his mind. And the biggest issue for him is not that he's not a great pitcher, because he is. It's the fact that something happens when it goes from 162 to the postseason that I don't think he can control. It's in his body. It's that ability to compartmentalize that I'm a great pitcher. All I need to do is go out here and pitch to my level. And for some reason, Greeny, he can't do that. So I think he's going to struggle.
For whatever reason, and I don't have the stat in front of me, I feel like almost all of his struggles in the postseason were against St. Louis. Right? It was not, Hembo's giving me the no, not necessarily. I feel like it was always the Cardinals just had his number. I have a funny feeling he's going to pitch a great game today.